Welcome to the Defense and Aerospace Report. I'm Vago Muradian on the day that Donald Trump has been elected the 45th President of the United States, and I'm meeting with Michael Baer, who is the chairman of the Defense Business Board and one of Washington's top defense insiders and has been involved in the confirmation proceedings or the setting up of new administrations for many years. Michael, thanks very much for joining us.
Thank you for having me, Vago. It's a great pleasure.
You recently did a very, very detailed transition report, something that you paid attention to, so that the next president is a success. What are the things they're going to have to do? And you were aiming this both whether it was Democrat or Republican. What are some of the things the next administration has to do?
Well, Vago, it was a report of the entire Defense Business Board, and it was based on all of our experiences in transitions. I have 4 of the last 6 transitions under my belt. What we were trying to do was provide the key things that every administration needs to think about early on. And as it won't surprise you, it's people, to find and recruit the very best people. Number 2 is to make sure that you've got an alignment early on where you're trying to go with budget. And 3, that you've got a work plan that really lays out those first couple of years of activities. All that has to derive from what the president-elect's principal thrusts are. And then we started it all off with what is our really nearest term concern, which is the prospect for instability in the world somewhere that would catch an administration off guard very early on before they were fully manned.
One of the things that you've always said, which is that 100 days where historically we've found some major event happens that tests a new administration.
One of the big concerns we have is that in every administration there's been a national security challenge in times far less dangerous than they are right now. Whether it's Kennedy and the Bay of Pigs, Eisenhower and the Iranian Revolution, George W. Bush and 9/11. Getting ready for that, identifying who's going to be in the room, make sure they're cleared in advance, and so that the Secretary of Defense has a completely staffed up inner office ready to go on January the 21st, 2017. That's the highest priority.
You said getting the best people. You've put that as a premium in the report. What happens when so many Republicans have said, we're just not going to serve in a Trump administration?
Well, I think you always get an awful lot of people who position ahead of time that they say, I'm either going to or not going to serve. What I've found over the years is that once there's someone elected and the people have spoken, and that president-elect then asks people to serve, an awful lot of people decide that they want to make those choices. They want to serve. Turning down the President of the United States is a very heavy burden. Turning down a candidate or one of the candidates' missives is far easier. So I actually remain pretty optimistic that once an administration decides what they want and they start that recruiting process, that they'll be able to find good people as long as they get help with the Armed Services Committee on ethics restrictions and otherwise.
You guys also spend a lot of time looking at what are the priority people. What are the top priority people that have to be in the administration as of January 21st?
Well, we had a list of 12, Vago, but headlined by obviously the Secretary of Defense, and then he or she then choosing his or her deputy. The second most important job after deputy to us is the personnel and readiness job, something that almost no one in Washington has ever heard about. But if you think about the fact that more than 50% of the entire department's budget are people, that job actually spends the first tranche of money, and then acquisition, readiness, and all the other things that the department cares about is consumed with the money left over. So to our regard, that's the biggest challenge. Getting the people right and getting the cost of those people right is essential to the administration next being able to have a successful 8 years.
Do you think, obviously a Republican House, Republican Senate helps you in that process, doesn't it?
Well, I think it does because it enables the key constrictor is not the price of the jobs, that is how much they make, or the terms, the length of terms. The real problem is the requirements the Armed Services Committee puts on people to dispose of assets, to enter blind trusts, and exercise all sorts of post-employment conflicts. Those have been very burdensome for people coming in, and administrations on both sides have chafed at their realities. But sadly, to date, no one has attended to that.
How does that have to change from your standpoint?
In our view, the Armed Services Committee has to take a head-to-toe look at these restrictions and understand that the quality of people they need coming in really need to be benefited by the revolving door as opposed to be preventing from it. We have to have people who are fresh out of industry, whether it's high-tech, biotech, or basic manufacturing, or defense aerospace. It is not helpful to have people who've been out a long time, who are not fresh and current in those technologies.
Michael, thanks very much for joining us.
Thank you, Vago. It's a great treat, and wish you all the best.
I wish you all the best. You're the one who's going to be working hard through this process.
Thank you. We'll see.
Have the calls been coming in terms of trying to get your help in order to do that?
Yes, a few people have called, but we'll see.
We'll see how it works out.
We'll see what happens in that regard.
Well, everybody will have their fingers crossed. Michael, thank you so much.
Thank you, Vago. It's a great pleasure.